Hey, what's going on? Bradtragick here. Once again, I wasn't sure I was going to do this video on, but then I briefly remembered what I wanted to talk about. And basically, it was the Monday Night Wars. Wow. And I know Legends of Wrestling is going to talk about it when they do the next show, but they gave me an idea to do that video. So thank you, Legends of Wrestling, for mentioning that. So I wanted to do a little video about that, talk about the Monday Night Wars, what happened. I remember watching, was very, very excited when Nitro came on. I was like, yes, they finally have a chance. They're going to be on this, they're going to go head to head with WWE. It's going to be amazing, blah, blah, blah. But it was kind of mad at the same time. It's like, oh man, now I have to switch back and forth. And it's like, but that was the thing back in the day. That was the thing, you turn on wrestling, you have both the channels, figure out what the channels are, if you didn't know where they were. And then you switch back and forth. Usually want to be on a little bit on the extra commercial, and then when they do a commercial, you go back and you already missed part of WCW. But I mean, which show do you end up watching at the end was the thing. Which one was going to draw you in? It kind of sucked because when all Austin stuff was going on, I definitely was watching WWE, but a lot of NWO when it was in its heyday, I would watch the end of WCW. But after a while, NWO kept doing the same stuff at the end, so it's like I'm not gonna watch it, you know. So later, and then when they started doing the replays, I would watch the WCW one later on, and watch WWE first because of course WWE didn't have a rerun afterwards like WCW did. But yeah, I mean to think of all the things that happened in the Monday Night Wars. I know that the big things are Goldberg, NWO, Stone Cold had a lot in the Attitude Era had a lot of influence on the Monday Night Wars. Um, And then, to talk about how Mick Foley was going to win the world championship, they announced it before it happened on Raw. It really didn't help the product because they ended up changing the channel. Thank you, Bischoff. You let us know something's going to go on WTV that we didn't know. Really? It's funny, really funny. Um, yeah, but they did that. But basically, you've seen it coming. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, you can't really predict the end of a company, and it's just gonna be the same way in TNA. If something happens to them and they end up dying, people aren't gonna know. They're not gonna see it coming because they won't know what's going on behind the scenes. But WCW was kind of like the writing on the wall because it was like really, really shitty. I mean, we're talking about like, I mean, I've seen some wrestling promotions come on TV, and they don't last very long because they have nobody that nobody wants to see really. I mean, I won't say that, but like they don't have the I guess you can say the connections that Vince McMahon has in order to keep that company open and to branch out to TV network and things like that. And then if you don't have that, if you don't put out great numbers, you're gonna get shut down. I mean, I know there's been like I think Wow Wrestling was on a syndicated channel, and also I think All American Wrestling it was All Star Wrestling or All American Wrestling was really good. They had Coco Beware. They had I think like Jim Powers was on there, and some other wrestlers were on there. I believe Tony Atlas was on there for a short time. I think it actually that was their big draw that Tony Atlas was on there because I mean he's a great talent. And I mean people say it's crazy, but I mean he was a great talent in the ring. So it was pretty cool to see him. Um, but and you had some other guys I really don't remember. I actually kind of want to say Buff Bagwell was in there, but I don't really remember. But there was some other guys in there, and I liked it, and then it just went off the air one day. And I was like, but then they put Wow Wrestling came on. I think like shortly after that, and it was really really horrible. But I don't even know if anybody even came from there, even went on to do anything good. But I believe a couple people did. But I mean, they had some decent wrestling matches and women, and had some good storylines. I remember really Riot on there that I really liked. But I watched it a couple times and she wasn't even on there, so I stopped watching it. I know I recorded it for a little bit, um, and watched it. I know on VHS back in that day, and watched it over again. It was pretty interesting. So I mean, it's just really hard, like going back to the Monday Night Wars. It's like it's really hard to have that product, and if you see somebody trying to go up against Vince McMahon, you kind of see what's going to happen at the end. It's probably going to be WWE Vince McMahon getting the win. I mean, WCW could have had the knockout punch, but I think they just missed some steps along the way, to still be a financially, company. But I just didn't. I mean, and plus at the end, you see all these people buying and selling WCW. It's like you kind of seen what was going to happen. You kind of thought, like, well, I don't know how good they're going to be going because they seem to be losing money and they keep on selling it, buying it, selling it. And when you do that a lot, it hurts the company, it hurts the infrastructure or whatever. It hurts, people don't want to run it anymore. They basically, just get rid of the product. It's just like a TV show, like if you don't want to run it anymore, you're just going to get rid of it. You're not going to see that show on anymore, just for the hell of it. And the sad thing is, it's just not just a show though. It's like it's a company. It's something people will look forward to watching every single week. So it's sad that somebody couldn't have stepped in and say, hey, I'll give you so much money, but they wouldn't give Eric Bischoff a TV spot on TV for it. So with that, I really think that even if why couldn't Bischoff could have got that that thing and hired somebody else to come in run it like independently, or even at that, contact the WWE and say, I want to run this company, but I need a TV slot. Could you talk to some of your friends, blah blah blah, and maybe be an umbrella corporation, like ECW did, like later on, they would come up a little bit, and then they would take like a giant shit on them. But hey, it's fine, it's fine. We'll talk about that another time, or here in a bit. But basically, you see, what happened in the Monday Night Wars, and ECW was instrumental in that. I do want to admit that they were instrumental in that, instrumental in the Monday Night Wars. But Eric Bischoff, basically, you know, I wish he would have had a shot to keep WCW running, and a lot of people I think will look back and say, "Man, I wish WCW was still around." Think like, what if WCW was still around? What would happen? Would there be a TNA? Would there be? I think there would be an ROH because ROH I think was started. I think before WCW ended. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure because I think Jim Cornette was very much associated with it. I believe before um, WCW ended. So. Um, to say what would have happened if WCW was still around today. Wow, I mean, all the stars out nowadays, like you probably would see, a lot of stars being probably built a lot, I think, better because I think WCW would have to make stars and WWE would have to make stars, and in turn it would make the product better. So that's the thing. There needs to be something come out, whether it's a wrestler or something. And I think somewhere down the road, if TNA is not that, because I think TNA's bombed already. I think they've already set their freaking show ablaze, and I really don't think like I'm not really interested in the product right now. They have to have a huge saving grace to turn around and change that. They have to have a complete overhaul on the entire thing, I think, to save it right now. I think it's just a burning blimp right now, and it's going down slowly. Um, but I think it just goes to what I think. Somewhere down the road, I hope a wrestler can take a company and build it up and be really, really good with it. Somebody who knows the wrestling business really well. I would honestly like to say like Mick Foley. I thought really hard about maybe like Hulk Hogan being able to make a company, and actually really, really stand out. Whether he's the Vince McMahon person who has the ultimate say and bring in other writers that really know what they're talking about, or the wrestlers that know what they're really talking about, and build storylines and things like that. Like down the road, if like maybe like a guy like I don't know, somebody like a Dusty Rhodes or it's like old time wrestlers, bring them in, build this up, and build the company, do really well with it, and bring in some of like the wrestlers from the next generation that are retired, bring them in, to help run the company, and teach them the trade. What should happen, what should happen. I know you learned this in WWE, but you don't know this trade, and you need to do this in order to build a company up. It's just I think there comes a time when there's going to have to be the wrestlers need to come up that have been around for a while that doesn't want the former entertainment to die and want their legacy to ferment forever. They need to come around. They need to build a company themselves and need to really fight and have a place against Vince McMahon because when Vince McMahon is dead and gone, is it going to be around? Is Shane McMahon going to drop the ball? Is Stephanie going to drop the ball? Is Triple H going to drop the ball? Are they going to be able to continue to make an entertaining product? Because once Vince is gone, there is that relationships with all the companies that they worked with over the past years. Even Jim Ross, he's not going to be around forever. He probably helps the company image too, being there. With all those people gone, who's to say if the WWE is going to die after Vince McMahon, is long gone? That's my like holy terror is because when I get older, when my son gets older, is the WWE going to be around? And Vince McMahon is gone, is there going to be a WWE? Is it going to die with Vince McMahon, or is it going to continue the thing? And then Vince McMahon told and it wasn't really right. It's like he didn't answer the question. It kind of irritated me the fact that maybe Vince McMahon, is he even thinking about passing it on right now? Has he got a will in place? So if something happens, who's going to take over the company? I mean, to me, it's probably going to be Stephanie McMahon just because she's there. But I think deep down, I think that he's probably going to leave it to Shane and Stephanie. And basically, if Shane wants to come back, he can help run the company. He's probably going to get like 50%, and Stephanie's probably going to get 50%, and Linda's probably not going. I mean, she'll have say in the company, but I really do think that Vince McMahon's going to leave. You know. Either 25% to Shane and 25% to Linda, and then 50% to Stephanie, something like that. And then basically, when Linda passes away, she'll leave her 25% to Shane McMahon, and basically give their son and daughter, 50% each of the company, and then they can do whatever they want with it. And I don't think Shane McMahon would purposely like bury the company, but I think if he would get that 50%, that if he found somebody that he thought would do good with the company, I think that he would give it to him. But I think ultimately Shane McMahon would have a say, and he would be not really like on TV or anything, but I think he would kind of have participation in the if something would happen to his father, because I think right now he's basically buying time. He's trying to make himself some money and try and get things rolling. And I really, really do think that deep down, I think Shane McMahon will probably be back working for the company, but I think he's just kind of like, well, I'm not really needed right now in the WWE. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna go do something else, and then when basically when my dad passes away, I'll come back. Because I think he will be back. I think he loves the wrestling business as much as his dad, and Stephanie McMahon the same way. Which is kind of weird that a daughter would that succeed the father. But I did learn something in the Heat Seekers interview today, and that Jeff Jarrett is kind of like from a line of promoters. So he came from um, he came from his mom being a promoter that I did not know about this, and his dad was as well, I believe, and he was, But the thing is, I don't get now is I don't think Jeff Jarrett owns TNA anymore. I think he ended up selling all. I think he ended up selling the company off. So, which is kind of cool that he created that company and ended up selling it off to Dixie Carter, which ultimately I think bought Jeff Jarrett out. Um, but that kind of might be the reason why it's not doing as good as it is, because a girl, who maybe, I mean, she's respected in the wrestling business. I don't know what she's done in the wrestling business, but something for another time. We need to look into, talk about that, another video. But I just think maybe that's why TNA is not doing as good. And it goes back to the Monday Night Wars. This still kind of ties in because TNA tried to take down the WWE at one time. They tried to be the next Monday Night Wars, but they lost the battle before they even got started. But I think and the thing is too, like networks don't want to give anybody a chance to do battle with WWE. They won't give them a chance, to run their course and have a battle with them. But I think Spike just didn't want to even take the chance. You know, I think they gave him like I think they gave him like 3 or 4 months, and they're like, no, take it off, because they didn't think they were pulling in that much ratings. But they were trying to beat the USA Network. But I don't know. It's just it's kind of dumb, and it's kind of funny that now, like a year later after the fight with the WWE, WWE's now gonna have their own channel. So it's just like, God, what the world's next, man? WWE continues to evolve. It's like just when you think that WWE has died and lost all relevancy, they continue to reinvent themselves. And just like Vince McMahon says, they continue to reinvent themselves every single decade. They change something. They know they have to change. They just have to wait till they find it. And I think that's what happened this last few years, last decade. They kind of didn't know what to do. They didn't know what the next step was. They didn't know what to change to. And then I think it basically hit them. After the big success of Twitter and Facebook and everything, it's like, well, we're gonna have to be social. We're gonna have to be more social media friendly. But I still don't think they're doing the correct thing, what they're doing. So the Monday Night Wars, like I said, I kind of miss them because it would make the company better, and they'd probably be getting their ass kicked right now if anybody else was against them right now. If TNA was against them right now, I still think TNA would win. I really do think TNA would win because I think right now, as a wrestling product, TNA is a little better. They're crazy with their whole storyline, but I just really think they're more interesting than WWE right now. WWE's kind of getting, it's like even though it's WrestleMania time, that's the sad thing about it. It's like it's right before WrestleMania, but yet I'm bored to death. Like there's some things here and there, that I enjoy. I like, they do, but it's not the wrestling matches. For the most part, it's not the wrestling matches. Um, TNA still gives, probably better matches than WWE. There's a few matches here and there that I enjoy with uh, WWE, but for the most part, it's mainly a whole um, thing about where I watch WWE just because I watch WWE. It's just a product I'm used to watching, and I think that's a lot of people how they're sucked in to keep continuing to watch WWE is like, well, I'm growing up with the company. It's like, why would you change now? You watched the show for 20 years. Why do you change now? There's no need to because you watched it for this long. You're loyal to the product, and you're hoping they turn it around, and usually they do. So during the mid '90s when it was really horrible and they had like a lot of gimmicks, and I mean it was a fun time to be a wrestling fan because you see all these goofy characters, but I mean it's something they need to get back to. But then it's just the fact that you know you can only do so much with bland guys that have no gimmicks whatsoever, and then you have to move on. So and then going back to ECW, what would what was their impact in the wrestling wars? What did they do? They basically they had the talent, they had the guys that would bring Night Wars to where it is today. I mean, they fueled the fire. They would and the thing is too, they if you think about it, they had the hotline, and they had the hotline that was like better than Mean Gene Okerlund because Mean Gene Okerlund was like, oh, well, see, all about WCW and blah blah blah. ECW would talk about WWE, they would talk about WCW, they would fuel the fire and say, find out who's going to show up on Monday Nitro or who's going to show up on Monday Night Raw, who's a former ECW star or something like that, or somebody that would not have nothing to do with ECW because of this reason or something like that. And like he would basically run with things from other shows and make money off other people's shows. Having a hotline, people call that hotline, and then they say some bullshit where you're like, fucking goddamn it. It's something stupid, but they would fuel the fire, and sometimes they would say somebody's gonna show up or rumored to show up, and then they wouldn't show up because you think they'd just come up with it, just to get the heat going. But they really did have an impact on um, Monday Night Raw and Nitro because they would and then sometimes they would tell you, especially when Raven was leaving ECW, you knew it. You knew the Dudley Boys were leaving. You knew Taz was leaving. But then you watched that Raw to see if they were going to show up on Raw. Or you watched the pay-per-view to see if the pay-per-view, they were going to show up on the pay-per-view. And for the most part, you see them show up. The very next night on Raw, or a couple weeks from then. So you kind of kept on tuning in to Raw and Nitro because you knew that those guys were going to be on that show. Same thing with like a lot of Mexican wrestlers and everything like that. I'm sure they told when they were going to leave the ECW. If they didn't, they said something on the hotline about it. And there's probably different aspects I can't think of right now, but I mean ECW was an instrumental part in the Monday Night Wars. That's why in that DVD that WWE released, they did talk a lot about that and go into detail about that with Paul Heyman. There's a lot of things that went into the Monday Night Wars that people don't realize. So there you go. And I don't really know what else to talk about the Monday Night Wars. More comments, I'm sure. Any ideas on what I should talk about? Like I said, always comment below. Subscribe, everybody. Subscribe up to the buddy. What? Subscribe up above. Tell your buddies. Tell your friends. Tell your animals in your house. Whatever. If they watch YouTube. bradtragick. Yeah. Subscribe. Comment down below. Questions. Inbox. Buy my stuff. What? Oh, the video I just did today. Oh, yeah, you can buy that stuff too. Anyway, later.